online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome along to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show with myself, Colin. I don't think I really say who I am, so that's me. And and Bob as well.
Oh no, you've made me laugh already. Good evening. And I like the fact that you always say welcome along to the latest.
Yes.
I look forward to the edition where you say sort of like, welcome along to an old edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
That could happen, couldn't it?
Yeah, that would be quite entertaining.
If we revisit former shows.
Are you actually Doctor Who in disguise? You can tell it's been an international break, can't you?
Absolutely, yes. We're currently not looking back at the last time we complained, because we did that last week.
Yes.
Did you have a good international break?
Yeah, it was okay. So I saw a couple of the England games. Saw, I think, one of the England under-21 games. I do wonder how Adi Boothroyd is still in a job. But I think that's probably me and most of the rest of the country. But yes, it was an all-right international break. Not as good as Andre Burley's, who obviously had a fantastic time with St Kitts and Nevis.
And Darryl Horgan as well had a good run-out.
Well, yes, he did. I mean, obviously it was very awful for the Republic of Ireland because they lost to Serbia and then somehow managed to lose to Luxembourg, which again, probably the England under-21s could manage to do. And Darryl Horgan, of course, didn't play in those games, but he did play in the game against Qatar, which the Irish managed to draw, 1-1. And he provided the assist for James McLean in the 4th minute to score the goal.
He did. It's good for a Wycombe player, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Clearly that was the problem, that Darryl wasn't playing in the games against Serbia and Luxembourg.
No, exactly. That's where they went wrong. So we got the international break behind us and heading towards an Easter double-header. That's quite exciting, isn't it?
It is, yes. So Blackburn Rovers will be the visitors to Adams Park tomorrow with a 3 p.m. kickoff, and then we can go all the way up the M1 to Rotherham and the New York Stadium on Easter Monday, again a 3 p.m. kickoff.
So we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth looking ahead to those games very shortly. Do you think as players they go, yes, we're playing on Friday, and then another game on Monday as well? Or do you think they think, oh, that's not very long in between games, is it?
I think it probably depends how they're feeling, and also I would think it probably depends how actually the team is playing. Gareth would say how fantastic the morale is, and you're going to hear him talking about that in a little bit. But I would think if you're on a fantastic winning streak, you probably do think, oh, great, you almost want to probably play a game every day. So a little bit of both, I would imagine.
Also on this week's show, my thanks as always to JDT and Alan Hutchinson at the Ex-Players Association. Special thanks this week for hooking us up with former players and managers. This week we speak to someone who is both a former player and manager in Peter Suddaby. Yeah,
we're very grateful to him because we did sort of get stood up at the last minute, didn't we?
Well, stood up sounds a bit strong.
Well, kind of.
Yes, sort of.
Use a dating analogy, which we don't do very often on this show.
No, we should try and use that more. More dating analogies on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. We'll try and work them in. That's a challenge, isn't it? We'll do that for future
okay, right.
Dating analogies. See if we can do that. So we've had stood up. What could other ones be? Don't worry. Also, still to come, find out as well what's required if you've ever wanted to be a steward at the club.
Yes, indeed.
We hear from head steward.
Richard Piercy will be joining us. You need the sort of same attributes that you would take to a first date. There you go, there's another
There's another one. Fantastic. What, a bright orange coat? You'd take that?
Well, yeah, because particularly if it's a blind date that you're going on, because clearly you want the person to know who you are and where you are. Obviously, this doesn't really happen at the moment during COVID times, but bright orange coat, that would be perfect. With WWFC on the back.
That should get you a second date, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for interest purposes alone.
Possibly you'd never see the person ever again.
As they were running away. My memories of stewards, I should say. Sorry, I thought I said Stewart. My memories of Stewart, no, Stewards.
Who was Stewart?
Yeah, is that I might have mentioned this before, but I was fortunate enough for a couple of seasons to do the ground announcing at Adams Park.
Yes,
and I always remember.
I'm quite jealous that you did this.
Yeah, it was a top thing to do.
One day.
I especially liked the Bing Bong thing, that when you opened up till it broke, and then there was no Bing Bongs after that. But
didn't they only do the Bing Bongs though when there was like quite an important announcement, or did they used to do the Bing Bongs all the time?
No, the Bing Bongs used to be all the time until the Bing Bongs broke.
They?
The Bing Bongs broke.
Okay.
And then,
so even when you were doing the team news, it would go Bing Bong
every
and then
time.
You'd say, oh wow, okay.
So yeah, you just keep the button pressed up so you don't get it every time for the team news.
Ah, right.
Bit of behind the scenes technical news there.
No, I was assuming that if there's a bing bong, you've got to listen to what it's saying.
Well, ideally, that's the whole point of doing it. If you're doing ground announcing and no one's listening, there's little point, to be honest.
No, that's true.
But I always remember you have to get to the ground really early, and you test the sound system by putting on some music. This is in the days of CDs. Ask your mum and dad. And they had a very limited CD collection. But there was always, you couldn't start it because it was obviously always came on louder than you'd expect, because when the ground was full or had people in it,
of course,
then it would need to be louder. So you couldn't do it till the stewards had their briefing. This is what I'm getting to. So from the PA box, you could see over to the sort of the far left of the ground, which is sort of essentially the away end. In the top left-hand corner of that stand would be where the stewards would be having that. So there'd be a mass gathering
of what, lots of people in very bright orange jackets.
Exactly, and you'd have to wait till that finishes to start playing the music. So they'd disperse. It was quite a sight just to see all these orange people just sort of dispersing when they were all as one. It was a bit like I don't know what the good correct analogy would be. I haven't thought it through well enough, but that's my steward mental image.
And were there a few scattered sort of like green people who were like in the chief stewards?
I don't remember the green people actually, but there must have been. I think there might have been some yellow people as well, mightn't there?
Ooh, okay.
A different rank.
And a few sort of darker greens for the St John's ambulance.
Yes. Oh, they were definitely those.
Yes, yeah.
It's a bit like in hospitals where they wear different colour scrubs, isn't it, for different ranks?
Yeah. No, again, these are all people that we should speak to, actually, because we do try, on the Wycombe Wanderers show, we do try and give you the whole Wycombe Wanderers experience. It's not just about Gareth Ainsworth and the players, even though Gareth does make a lot of appearances on the programme, but that's fairly obvious. But yeah, we should speak to a St John's ambulance person who works at Adams Park.
And perhaps the current ground announcer, just to see if the roles changed.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, you could swap stories.
Yeah. Explain what a CD is, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and maybe, even the person who's bodger.
Yeah. Yes, quite muffled through that big head, but we could...
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and sorry, I've just, that's the cardinal sin, actually, of mascots. You shouldn't imply that actually the mascot isn't real.
No. It might be a male or female as well. I think we said he, didn't we?
Oh, okay, yes, sorry. Yes.
Could be either.
Yes.
So, earlier on today, you caught up with the manager.
I did, indeed, yes. So Gareth had a press conference early this morning, which myself and I think it was only three of us attended the press conference this morning. But he was giving his thoughts both about the Blackburn game and the Rotherham game. Really good to spend quite a lot of time actually with Gareth, because clearly the way that the games have been going before the international break, where we've basically been playing midweek and then the weekend, they haven't really done a proper press session with him for a good while, so I was able to catch up with him for about 10 minutes.
So what's the mood in the camp like? Because obviously you're not in a great position, but you're in the Championship. Is that still the message, still the kind of confident feeling at the place?
We're in the best position this club's ever been in, so we're really happy. We're still buzzing to be in the Championship, to compete in this, and we're doing our best to stay in it. That's still the message. We've got chances, we've got points available. We want to get as many as we can and see where that puts us at the end of the season. But yeah, we're the morale and it's just brilliant here. It really is. The boys know where they are. They know that a lot of them, we're punching way above our weight as a club, and we think that we've got a chance to win some points. And looking forward to the games now. Yeah.
What's the team news? Is there anyone out? Anyone getting back fit?
No, we've got a pretty good squad. I think the treatment room's quite bare at the moment, which is always good. One or two little knocks, but now we're hoping that the likes of David Wheeler will be close. Jordan Obita probably will miss out, but he's the only long-termer we've got at the moment, which is great. So we're looking forward to picking from full squad.
You've obviously got Blackburn tomorrow, a club very close to your heart.
Yeah.
Played there on the opening away game of the season, and it wasn't the result you wanted. How much did that hurt you going back to your old stomping ground and getting beaten so badly there?
No, it hurt's the wrong word to use. It was an eye-opener, of how the quality of the Championship would be totally different to League One, and it was a great occasion for me. I'll never let that be marred, because I thought going back home was awesome. Taking a team that were at the wrong end of League Two when we started our journey, taking them to the place where I grew up watching football, and the Championship was just a real proud moment. And still, you know, I would never look back at that game with any other thing than pride. And you know, it's not the first time we've been up against it in the Championship. It's a tough league, you know, and that taught us a lot. That taught us that we were going to have to strengthen the squad and also change probably the way we approach games. And it's totally different. It just showed us the strength of the Championship. It's a fantastic league, and why it's so highly regarded around the world, you know. But it's a special moment going back to Blackburn for me. It was always going to be that, and it's my club. It's this club I support, and a club what got me into football. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Blackburn Rovers. You know, that was the club I followed as a kid, and still do now.
How surprised are you that I think we all thought that Blackburn would be up there going for promotion after that day then, but they're not. How surprised are you at that?
Yeah, they've had some injuries to deal with, you know, and especially in key positions. I think they struggled with centre-back pairing earlier on in the season. You know, I think that Tony's a fantastic manager, a real good person, and we've had some real good chats, and he's somebody I admire in the game. I think he's done everything really to manage in the levels he's managed. I think he's awesome. So it's probably just a little bit of bad luck with the injuries. And do you know what? Blackburn is probably still looked at as one of the top clubs in the Championship, and it really isn't. You know, it's not anymore. You know, back in the early 90s, we were ahead of the curve financially with Jack Walker's money, and I guess it probably shows now that how much money actually does talk. You know, it's crazy to think that Blackburn's one of the smaller clubs in the Championship. You know, there's only 100,000 people live in Blackburn. It's a small town, got a great footballing history, but I think even they are shocked at the amount of money being pumped in elsewhere and making these clubs huge clubs. There's some clubs' budgets this season are just enormous, and they're doing really well, and they want to get back to it. But Blackburn just can't compete with that sort of finance, and Wycombe just can't compete with anything close to Blackburn. So that's how far the levels are in this division. And so I think injuries, and people probably have to realise that Blackburn Rovers being in the Premier League is an unbelievable achievement. It would take something special for them to get back there, because it's a really, really tough league, this, and we're finding that out. So I think a little bit of luck as well has gone against Tony with some injuries, and I'm sure that Blackburn will be flying and fighting hard right to the end of the season. Could they nick a playoff place? Anyone could at the moment, but it'll be tough, you know, with everything that's going on.
Finally from me, how much would it mean to beat Blackburn, and for you, if you did pull it off?
Any team, any win in the Championship, we've had 6. They're all really, really special moments for me, you know. Blackburn, you know, it wouldn't be extra special because it's my hometown. It might make 1 or 2 headlines in the local paper up there, but all I care about is Wycombe Wanderers getting points on the board, whether it's Blackburn or Burnley, their arch rivals. It wouldn't matter. I just want points on the board for Wycombe Wanderers, and so there's no added spice for this just because I'm a Blackburn lad. It'd be nice to see the Rovers come down, and it was fantastic to be at Ewood Park, but it wouldn't be nice to get beat again at the same scoreline, put it that way. I wouldn't like that to happen, but you never know in this league. It's a tough league. We'll be giving everything we've got, but I will take points against anyone. Never mind Blackburn. I need them all, and yeah, there'll be no added spice for me. It's just another game we're focusing on the right way, and hopefully we can get the points.
Good luck, Gareth. Thanks for talking.
Morning, Gareth.
Rob, you okay?
So we got Rotherham on Easter Monday. Clearly they were the first visitors this season. We were so unlucky to lose that game 1-0.
Yeah, it was a very tight game. It was not billed as a classic. You know, 2 teams that had come up from League One, both renowned for getting the ball forward quite quickly, if I'm honest, and both sort of cancelled each other out right to that last corner and that last minute, and I still feel the pain of that. You know, it was a tough one to take, but I think we had a couple of chances early on again where we could have gone ahead, but you know, again, it's a fantastic achievement for us both to be in this league, and we're both fighting hard to stay in this league. Rotherham, obviously, a little bit higher than us, but you know, it's been an outstanding achievement for any of the 3 teams that came up to stay in the Championship for a successive season.
And they're also obviously a team that have gone down and then managed to bounce back up. If we don't pull off the Great Escape, is that presumably something that you're definitely looking for Wycombe to emulate?
Yeah, of course. Long-term planning has got championship written in the later chapters, without a doubt. And believe me, to even talk about that now, with all the meetings and all the chats we had and all the fans forums back in the early days, to even be talking about bouncing back to the championship is real pinch me time for all Wycombe supporters, and I'm hoping it's not expected. I'm hoping that I teach my players that there is no entitlement in life. You don't wake up every day entitled to things. You earn things. You earn your respect. You've got to feel lucky and humble every single day. I'm hoping everyone is feeling the same as me. If we survive, wow, fantastic, what an achievement. And if we don't manage to pull off the Great Escape, like you say, then there's no entitlement that we should be in the championship. We've got to work hard and earn it again. But just to be talking, I keep saying it in the same sentence, Wycombe Wanderers and championship, I think that everyone who's supported us, played for us, managed any part of the business or anything, served a cup of tea, you've all played your part in this club on a phenomenal journey. So thank you to everyone, and couldn't have done it without you all. But we aim to stay in the championship or get back in the championship. Crazy talk if you'd have thought 5 years ago, but realistic talk now, which is testament to all the boys and all my staff and everyone who's worked at Wycombe.
Completely, and I think the fans who are realistic remember that day at Torquay where you must have been going down there. The fact that other clubs had to do you a favour, and look how far we've come. The fact that we're now talking about playing Blackburn Rovers in the Championship is still amazing.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Premier League champions, Blackburn Rovers. I've got to get that one.
And one of only 7 clubs to do so as well. You didn't mention that earlier on.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. With regards to the international break, what did you get up to? Did you manage to have a few days off? Only
a couple. Only last weekend, Saturday, Sunday, because we obviously, it hasn't gone perfectly this season. We knew we'd be at the wrong end of the table. We knew that from day one because it's a battle. And look at the 3 teams that came up: Coventry, Rotherham, and Wycombe. They're all in that bottom 5, They're all fighting away. So we knew that would be there. But, I really wanted 6 or 7 more points on the board than I have now. I could blame referees' decisions all days, but sometimes you got to think, where could we have earned those points ourselves? And so we've been working hard on some aspects of the game last week. The lads only got Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And my staff were in all week. We only got Saturday, Sunday because I wanted to work on what we think we can improve on, and we've done that. And hopefully tomorrow we can put things in place that people will see. Maybe a next step of Wycombe. Back in the seasons gone by, we've had weeks off. I've given the boys weeks off because they've done so well, and it's not a punishment. I think it's definitely something we need to work on and improve on if we want to stay in this championship or come back to this championship. So we've been working on the training pitch, not too hard, but more on the mental side and the video side of our game, and hopefully we can end that with a good start coming out the international break tomorrow against Blackburn.
And how's Darryl Horgan doing? Obviously, he's been the one player away on international duty.
Yeah, we had Andre Burley.
Oh, yes, you
well,
did. Yeah. Apologies to Andre.
Yeah, 6 kits, and 2 wins for him. Absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Darryl had a couple of defeats and a draw, but again, he played a big part in the goal for the draw against Qatar, and both of them came in yesterday to test. They've both been away, so the protocol was to test the COVID stuff, obviously, and they'll both be available for selection tomorrow. I'm really proud of Andre. I think he's come on leaps and bounds and a product of our B team as much as someone like Anis Mehmeti, internationals now. It's just brilliant to have, and Darryl representing his country again is a real feather in the cap of Wycombe because back in the day it was a special occasion. Now we're expecting Darryl to be called up, and we'll expect probably Anis one day and Andre and people like that. So really, really proud of them all. But they've all come back unscathed, which is good. They've all come back negative, which is good. So they can be involved in the selection process tomorrow. Fantastic. Cheers, Gareth. All the best for the next couple of games.
I was just going to ask about Andre Burley. Obviously, he hasn't played yet. What does that say about his ability? And obviously, you're not playing for Wycombe yet, but obviously playing internationally. He's played the B team games. He's done really well, Andre. We're trying to turn him into something,
other than just a centre back. I think he may struggle size-wise more than anything, but he's got this capability of reading danger, and defensive midfield player we should see in him as well. So he's flitted between the two positions. He's a cracking lad, always got a smile on his face, and like I say, played a part in 2 big wins there, and they're top of the group for the World Cup qualifying. I mean, it's brilliant to have an experience like that under your belt before you've played any first team games. But I'm sure Andre is going to be one for the future, and we'll be working hard to make sure that he stays grounded, works his socks off, and just a shame some of these B team lads have not had the loans that we could have had this season because of the COVID. But it's things we have to deal with and adapt, and we have done. Looking forward to him coming back, and like I say, won't be too surprised to see him involved very soon in the squad.
Obviously, also after the international break, you were heavily linked, with the Preston job. Do you take much notice of that, or do you just not take much notice?
No, it's flattering, obviously. It's a huge club. One of the original 6, members of the Football League with a glorious history, and I'm glad to say I was part of that history, with my 9 league debuts and 150 plus appearances for that club. So really, really proud, and obviously an honour to be linked with the managerial job, because I said it's such a huge club. But no, I'm sat here as Wycombe manager and taking control of Wycombe tomorrow. So it's again, we can say that Wycombe now is a big club, a lot bigger than it was, and I'm really proud to have played a part in the history here as well.
And with the game tomorrow, I think some people at Ewood Park were surprised with how you set up and how open you were. Is that tomorrow with Armstrong's pace and stuff? Is that something you're gonna look to change, or? Oh,
believe me, we didn't set up to be open at Ewood Park. I think we were tore open a little bit by one of the best strikers in the league in Armstrong. We had a back 4. It's not like we set up to be full of gaps. I think it was our first away game against the Championship side, our first real Championship side, because Rotherham were League One with us the year before. So whichever people were surprised with that result, and I'm hoping they got brought down to earth quite quickly, because it was a learning curve, and it was a great experience. But no, we've learned plenty since. But again, we took 7-2 beating at Brentford, and we've had 3-0 again, and it's tough. Watford, looked a very strong side against us, and Norwich, and these teams are gonna be better than us. We've got to find ways of beating them. We've got to find ways of competing, and we can do this without a shadow of a doubt. But it's sometimes the gulf is huge. All the agents' fees and representative fees got released yesterday, and I think if everyone looks at those, they can see just where we are financially in the pecking order of not just the Championship League, but League One as well. It still is very, very tough out there, but we're fighting. We're in the best position this club's ever been in, although we're bottom of a league, and like I say, very proud of that.
How special will it be to the first Blackburn at Adams Park? First time that's happened. How special is that going to be? Yeah,
it's really special, and to be in charge, as a Blackburn lad, I love that town. It's my home, and I love the people of Blackburn. I think it's a fantastic place to be, and it taught me a lot of resilience, a lot of strength coming from Blackburn, and as you can hear in the accent, that's not going anywhere soon. It's a real honour to host my hometown club, the club I've supported all my life and will continue to support forever. To have them at Adams Park, it's an honour, and I say it's a game of football I want to win first and foremost. Maybe I can look back one day and think, what, it wasn't such a bad thing getting Blackburn Rovers down to Adams Park.
Gareth Ainsworth there speaking at a press conference earlier on today. Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers show, we will be hearing from former player and manager Peter Suddaby.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers show this week, Bob catches up with the head steward at Adams Park and discusses what makes a good steward. They're on the lookout for more stewards, that is, for the new season. But next, as mentioned, a very big thank you to JDT and Alan Hutchinson at the Ex-Players Association for sorting us out with some top guests over the last few months, and still to come as well. Some really good guests on the way. We'll be chatting to Keith Ryan next week as we celebrate 20 years since that goal at Villa Park. Gary Waddock on the way as well, the latest person to be a former manager, but someone else who's a former manager and a former player at Wycombe Wanderers is Peter Suddaby, and I caught up with him a little earlier on to find out his earliest memories of being involved at the club.
My first memory was my first training session, and we were in a gymnasium, and we were playing British Bulldog. I thought I was like a know-all student, you know. I'd come down from my home in North Wales to study at Oxford University, so I thought I knew everything. Anyway, on the first run-through of British Bulldog, I decided that I would aim for this little guy with no hair because he looked vulnerable, and I thought I'll be able to get past him. Anyway, as I went past him, I felt this palm of his hand hit me flush on the nose with the best handoff you've ever seen. I'd only picked on Keith Blunt and his rugby league experience.
Not the best timing for you.
No, so that knocked me flat on my back, which was subject of great hilarity amongst the rest of the squad. So that was my first session with all the players. But I was, I don't know whether these are the right words, but I was looked after by John Delaney when I arrived. I'm not sure the words looked after are correct, but John certainly kind of showed me all the ropes and all the tricks of the trade that you needed to know to survive at Wycombe.
So at that time, did it feel like a special time to be at the club? Because we speak to many former players, and it feels like their era or generation, it just seems to coincide with a time that's really special.
Oh, it was a lifesaver for me because I was brought up in a little village in North Wales, and then all of a sudden I'm coming down to go to Oxford University to study, which was like a world away from my normal world. I needed not just a football club, but I needed somewhere to kind of look after me as well. And they certainly filled that bill for me. And I made some lifelong friends there. It's been fantastic.
And also you went on to be an amateur international as well, which must be a great source of pride for you.
Yes, no, it was, well, Brian Lee, actually, and when I first came down to Oxford, I was playing for Skelmersdale United up in near Liverpool, and I'd been invited over to Slough to talk to them. But I remember Brian Lee took me to one side and he said, "Remember, it's not quantity, it's your quality of life." And basically he said, if I joined Wycombe, I would be an England amateur international. And true to his word, within a couple of months of signing for Wycombe, I'd won my first amateur international cap. I think we played it at Wycombe, actually. It was against Republic of Ireland, I think.
And you also enjoyed time at Blackpool and also Brighton as well, so some good holiday destinations there.
I was very lucky. I played with some good players and good people, which is the secret. The secret to get a good team is not just to get the best players, but is to get the best people. And I think you can see that in some of the Premier League teams now. I often wonder why some of the clubs, I don't want to name them, but aren't doing better than they really should. And I come to the conclusion that it's about getting the best people. I mean, I was very lucky at Skelmersdale and at Wycombe. I played with a really, really good bunch of people who would do anything to help you. And luckily, that carried on when I went to Blackpool and eventually when I ended up at Brighton.
So did you deliberately target holiday destinations as a...
Yeah, well, I deliberately targeted places with a beach because I enjoyed my pre-season so much running on the sand. Not.
No, you must have missed that at Wycombe.
No, I didn't miss any of the hard running.
And people may not know of your maths teaching background, which is something that you don't often associate with footballers either, I guess.
No, I don't think... I always used to think when I went for a job interview, I was always worth interviewing just for the novelty factor of seeing a professional footballer who's also got a maths degree. I mean, that must be pretty rare. You know, if you were doing the I Spy books, that would be worth 100 points, I think.
No, definitely. I was just thinking back to my maths teachers as well and couldn't imagine any of them playing football.
Yes, no, I loved my maths. I enjoyed every minute of my maths teaching. It was fantastic.
And tell us about how you came back to be managing the club as well, because it was a tricky spell for you, because I know that the club had to sell a lot of their best players whilst you were in charge. Yes,
and also I was unlucky in that it was a very transitional period. The club had just come out of it wasn't called the National League, but whatever it was called then, and gone into the Football League. And unfortunately, there were still some remnants of Isthmian League thinking going on whilst we were in the Football League. I mean, I don't think the club at that time had come to terms with the fact that they were going to have to spend a bit more money if they were going to gather together a decent team to play in the Football League. It was a tough period, I have to say. I mean, it wasn't one of my favourite periods at Wycombe. I found it really tough going because I'd coached a lot at Tottenham Hotspur's academy, but there's a huge difference from being a coach to being the one who makes all the decisions, and I wasn't ready for it at the time, I have to admit.
You sort of glossed over your time at Spurs, but you must have been so rewarding to work with so many of the young players that came through at Tottenham.
Yes, no, Tottenham was a good experience up until the end part, but yes, we had some good players there.
I understand you're still very good friends with David Pleat today.
Yes, I'm very good friends with David, and I'm very good friends with all the coaches that worked in the academy. When Tottenham play at home, they have used lots of their ex-players as ambassadors, and the last time I went to see a Tottenham home game, it was actually when they were playing at Wembley Stadium, and the ambassadors were all in front of where I was sitting, and I got a lovely reaction from them because, like I say, one of the big decisions when I was at the academy at Tottenham was to kind of try and give the academy a bigger profile, and we decided that we would employ lots of the ex-players as coaches in the academy, so the young players could kind of actually have contact with people who they'd watched play. And it worked a treat. I mean, the young players being coached by Ledley King and Sol Campbell and people like that, and Peter Crouch, they just couldn't believe their eyes.
And it must have been extra special for you when Wycombe played Spurs earlier this season in the FA Cup as well.
Yes, it was. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to the game, but it was torn loyalties. I'm not so sure. I think my loyalties lay mainly with Wycombe on that night, but I'm still very interested in Tottenham's progress, but the club is so different now to when I was there with their new training ground and new stadium. It's a world apart now.
But it must have felt so good for you to be involved in that, sort of laying the foundations, if you like, for the youngsters coming through.
Yes, no, it's very rewarding when you see a young player join at a very young age and kind of get into the first team. But I had some excellent coaches at the academy. Pat Holland, the ex-West Ham player, and Jimmy Neighbour, they were excellent to work with. And I think that's the secret, is you've got to get good people to work with, and you've got to have a happy atmosphere. Everybody was treated with respect.
And it must be so pleasing or interesting, I guess, to see as well how the game's changed from when you played it to coaching the youngsters in more recent times. But I guess many of the principles are still the same as well.
Yes, the principles are the same, but they are so cosseted now. It's amazing now what they do to attract the best youngsters. I mean, there is a big danger in you give them too much too early, and then you've got nothing left to tempt them with.
And things like tackling as well. You don't see as much tackling as in years ago.
No, I'd be in trouble, I'm afraid.
Are there any particular games which particularly stand out from your playing time, either of your spells at Wycombe?
Yes, I remember in my first period at Wycombe, we played Hillingdon Borough in an FA Cup replay, and I don't know the exact numbers, but the crowd at Wycombe was unbelievable. I have a photograph at home here taken from one side looking across the ground, the old ground, of course, and you can't see an empty space. Somebody said there was something like somewhere between 12 to 13,000 people. I mean, the crowds were unbelievable.
I think I know the very picture you're talking about. I think the actual attendance that day was about 15,500.
Right, yes. I remember when I was told how many people were at the game, I just couldn't believe it.
And even for sort of an amateur cup game as well, it's great to know that games, especially that you were involved in, had such big attendances.
Yes, no, it was fantastic. I mean, what a support. It was, some of the other Football League clubs now would die for that kind of support.
And as well, to have so many sort of homegrown or locally based players in those days as well, which is something which you don't necessarily get these days.
Yes, I used to travel in from Oxford, and we used to take it in turns to use our cars. I used to be in a little carpool with John Mask and Vince, and we all used to meet at the pub on the roundabout just outside of Oxford. The car run was well established before I got there.
Oh, and I'm sure you must have some excellent stories from those days and great memories as well.
Yes, it was, like I said, it was a good time for me for two reasons. A, it was a good football to play in, but B, I made such good friends and I was made to feel so welcome when actually I felt as though I was a long way from home in North Wales.
And latterly, it must have been brilliant to be involved in the Ex-Players Association. I know last year, for example, yourself and Keith Samuels went to present some equipment at the hospital, and who looked after yourself as well.
The Ex-Players Association was fantastic, yes. I enjoyed my involvement with that immensely.
And as I say, it must be really nice to share memories with other former players and experiences as well.
Particularly my days before I turned professional. I treasure those years very much, because they gave me some great memories and formed the basis of me being able to turn professional.
It's fantastic for you to have those memories, and I understand obviously the last 12 months has been tricky for you, especially with the lockdown, but hopefully in the near future you'll be able to get out and perhaps hopefully see Wycombe again.
Yes, I'm hoping to.
And what are your thoughts about seeing them in the Championship? Do you think they found it a bit of a struggle, but fantastic that they've got to that level?
I think, unfortunately, it's just been a step too far, because in my experience when I was a player, when you went up a division, the problem was that, you have to play at a higher level every week. It's not just you have to kind of raise your game now and then. You have to raise your game every week, and if you're not quite at that level, then you just can't do it. And that's what I think when I look at some of the games on television, it just has been a step too far for some of the players.
That must be something you can relate to as well from your time, both in management and also playing as well, even from sort of non-league up to the league as well.
Yes, it's. I always thought that when the higher up the divisions, the more you got punished for your mistakes. So if you're in the Premier League and you make 4 mistakes, you get punished 4 times. If you're in the Championship and you make 4 mistakes, you might only get punished twice. But the higher up you go, the more ruthless the other players are. And I think that Wycombe have unfortunately found that out, that you can't afford, the higher up you go, you can't afford to miss a trick. You make a mistake, it'll cost you a goal. You miss a shot, it'll cost you the match. Because in lots of the games I've seen on TV, Wycombe haven't been outclassed, they've just made too many mistakes.
No, it's a good point, because you see the team sheet and you think, this is a really attacking lineup, and especially with your other work, you must be so pleased with the youngsters that are coming through and being brought on as well.
I'm always interested in the young players that Gareth manages to get on loan. I mean, he's obviously got a good eye, because the lad that was here that went back to QPR, I mean, he's never stopped, has he?
No, definitely.
And it's a skill to spot people at a young age. Everybody kind of thinks, it's easy to spot the next star, but it's not as easy as it seems.
And there seems to be something really special about Wycombe as well, a real kind of family club. But
that's why I was so lucky to end up at Wycombe, because, like I say, my personal circumstances, I needed more than a football club. I needed a club. And I think Wycombe is one of the few clubs that fills that bill. It's not just a place to go and play football. It was a place to go. And it always makes me smile when I go to the games, when you see so many people still working at Wycombe behind the bars and things like that. They're still there from when I was there, because it's got a special hold on people. It actually is more than a football club.
And it's really nice in a way that the club and also your time there and the game generally has given you so many happy memories as well.
Yes, I've got lots of happy playing memories from all the clubs I was at.
Really great chatting to Peter, and another example of you don't imagine, do you, that I'm sure it is the case, but at other clubs they don't have this kind of real special family feel and real sort of sense of community.
Yeah, we are very, very lucky, and it comes across time and again, doesn't it? Every time that we speak to ex-players, they always do refer to how Wycombe is like a family, and I really liked hearing what he was saying, particularly about sort of, that you recognise the people behind the bar and that sort of thing, because it's very true.
Definitely. I also found out, which didn't get mentioned in the actual on-air interview, that his daughter is currently featuring in an ice cream commercial, which is not something that every ex-player or manager... Perhaps I should ask more regularly, but I've not really thought to cover it, but...
This is the extra bits of the Wycombe Wanderers show that you don't normally get.
Great to speak to you. By the way, do you have any children in commercials?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Which ice cream advert? Do you get free ice cream? Is that how you're paid for doing an ice cream commercial?
You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
That would be very good, wouldn't it?
Final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show on the way. I forgot about that bit.
Is that what they used to do before you did the team news then?
That sounds like more like an airport. Departure shortly.
This is Wycombe Sound.
You're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers show. Colin and Bob are with you through until 8 o'clock. Wycombe are currently looking for more stewards to join their matchday staff, which I thought was a really exciting thing to hear, because obviously plans are already afoot for fans returning in the 2021-22 season. I spoke to the head steward at Adams Park, Richard Piercy, and asked him first of all how he got involved with the club.
I've been here for 20 years as a steward, and I started life as just a gatekeeper, and now I'm head steward, which just shows the show how life can change.
I have to confess, having looked for you on the internet as well, you are one of those faces around Adams Park that I instantly did recognise. I did think, oh yeah, I've definitely seen you around before.
Yeah, well, as I say, I've been 20 years. I've been more the last year, well, forget the last year. The time before, I was more in the control room. I'm still head steward, so I get out and about to meet the staff as much as I can.
Going all the way back to those 20 years sort of ago, were you always a Wycombe Wanderers fan?
I was always a Wycombe Wanderers fan. I used to go and see them down the Old Oaks Park when I was a youngster, sort of 16 years old. And then I went off and did my own thing, playing football on a Saturday or a Sunday, but always kept an eye on the scores, see how they've done and things like that, and get down and see a game whenever I could. So I've always had that sort of, deep down feeling for Wycombe Wanderers, being the local side in the town. And when my family came along, I used to bring my two boys down to watch the matches, and it's an interesting scenario how I got to be in the position I am, because when they got to an age and said they didn't want to carry on coming down, it didn't seem the same without them. So I said to one of the stewards, I probably won't be coming back anymore because, the boys aren't with me. And they said, come and work with us. So here I am 20 years later.
And chat with you. Yeah, that's brilliant. As we all know, all of us Wycombe Wanderers fans, we know what a friendly and family-orientated club it is. And so to hear that actually, just from somebody saying that to you, you've continued on for 20 years. Yeah,
I've always got this feeling in life that whatever you get out of it, you should put a bit back. I think with Wycombe Wanderers, I've had the enjoyment of watching them play. I've been to an FA Cup final semi-final, with my lad. So I set out with it in mind to give the club something, but I never intended to be here 20 years later, being head steward and looking after a season that, has been such a disaster from Wycombe fans' point of view, being in the Championship and not being able to come in and watch the games.
Yeah, I mean, it has been so sad, and just that there are so many fans out there that absolutely would love to see Championship football, and it must be very strange because, again, seeing the games on iFollow and the ones that have been televised, I've noticed that that very much there is a steward presence at the games. So, what has it been like for you to actually be there, but really having no fans apart from those 2 games to look after?
It's quite challenging in some respects. There is much work going into making sure that we are compliant with COVID regulations and these games can go ahead than there is actually having fans in the stadium. And basically all my stewarding staff are really there for site security and not so much looking after fans. It's just making sure that the compliance for the government rules is complied with, to stop the club from getting a fine or anything like that.
I'm one of the lucky few because I have attended a good few games on behalf of Wycombe Sound, and I can say that it's been incredibly efficiently done. You feel very safe from the moment that you drive through the gates at Adams Park and you're met by the people there, and they tell you where to go. It has been a credit to you and to your staff because it has been really, really well organised.
Well, thank you very much for that, because the other thing my staff are doing at the moment is the Vaccination Centre down here, and we're getting a lot of good feedback from that on how everyone is met and directed. So
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. So I'm 47. So I'm sort of like on, any day now I'm expecting to be cooled down. But everybody that I've spoken to that has been down to Adams Park to have the vaccine again has said the same thing. Everybody really friendly. It's very efficient. It's so well organised. So all of those things again, it's very much got the hallmark of the Wycombe Wanderers stewards on it.
Yes, and that's what we pride ourselves in. Anyone can just go and get a job and get the money, but I'll try and encourage the staff to go the extra mile, make sure everyone is looked after. Have a friendly approach, always, even when somebody's not doing the right things, not doing as you're asking them to, still remain friendly and polite. That works in a lot of occasions.
Again, speaking as a football fan and one that has travelled around the country, I've seen good stewarding and I've seen bad stewarding, and the bad stewarding is always when it's delivered in a slightly grumpy way and a slightly dictatorial way, and I've never ever seen that or felt that at Adams Park.
Well, whenever I get called to somebody that's dealing with a member of public, I always approach with a smile, and always say hello, present who I am to them so they know they're talking to somebody at a higher level. And that normally brings any problems lower down the scale, that they're talking to you instead of shouting at you.
Yeah, that definitely always helps. So I know that you are now looking for people to join your matchday team for the forthcoming season, which is, for a start, is really, really good that actually, that we're talking about stewards for the 2021-22 season, and fingers crossed that fans will be allowed back in the stadium. What are you looking for? Who are you looking for? What sort of skills?
Anyone that is willing to talk to people and face to face, especially with strange people that you've never met before, you've got to be able to go up to them and ask them if you can help them, if you can assist them in any way, if they're in a wheelchair, and just break barriers down. If you can't talk to people, you're no good as a steward, because talking is 80% of the job. Being friendly and polite, you've got to have that nature inside you to do the job.
Yeah, of course. And what are some of the roles then? I know we talk about stewards, but actually I know there's quite a lot of things that actually go into it.
There's a long list of things that go into it, which is on the website. But for many seasons now, we've been lacking in our training department through many reasons. This year, Gordon Riley, the stadium manager, is stepping down from that position, but he is now going to set up a training school to provide training for MVQ for the stewarding at different levels, and go on to first aid courses, Chapter 8, which is traffic management courses, not only just for our stewards, but to supply supply and train for the local companies as an going forward. So there's a lot of things positive happening at the club, and that is one of them. But we need to get all our stewards up to a certain level to be compliant with the EFL rules.
And also what's brilliant about what you've just said is then presumably you do have some qualifications which then are transferable, so that actually you can use those in other areas of employment.
Oh, quite correct. Because you've got your MVQ in spectator management, it can give you event work for Glastonbury when that starts up again, and any small events. Because the other side of what we do at Adams Park is we do outside event work. We trade under a company called Adams Park Security and Events, which I organise part of. We do all sorts of things, from small music festivals. We've done a small royal wedding over in Windsor, because we do a lot of work for the Royal Borough.
I mean, that's quite impressive. Just dropping in a royal wedding, that sounds quite good to me.
Well, it was only a small royal.
Even so, it was a royal wedding.
Yeah, but also we do... we used to do state visits when they used to have them in Windsor, and the Queen's Walkabout we've done. So,
oh, wow.
So we've done quite a bit for them, and we need to get back to the staffing levels that we had in those days to be able to quote for that type of work.
But, really interesting that actually, so you could go along to work at Adams Park, and then you actually end up, helping out on a royal event. Again, that's pretty exciting, really. Well,
for something like Remembrance Day parades, I've got 6 events on that day for different people. So you can see how spread I am on in November for Remembrance Day parades. Then we from there we move off into Christmas events, Christmas light switch-ons and Christmas fairs and things like that. So in a normal year, it's quite a busy time. Obviously, last year with COVID, it's been a bit of a disaster, but I've still had some jobs to do for different clients in different places. They're even coming back this year. I've got on my calendar, I've got lots of positive jobs ready to go once we get a go-ahead from the government.
Excellent. So, I mean, it's very much not necessarily you're not just looking for people, say, to work on a Saturday afternoon and a Tuesday or maybe Wednesday night. Actually, there's quite a lot of work out there if you're a steward.
For the right person with the right mindset, there is work out there. I'm quite lucky. I've got some really decent people which I can send out. They'll be responsible for an event because they've had the training, and the feedback I'll get from customers is amazing.
Fantastic. I would imagine as well that one important thing to say is that this is not a job that you can do if you're really wanting to watch the game of football for 90 minutes.
No, not at all. Strangely enough, I got an invite to Queen's Park Rangers the other week for the Wycombe game, and that's the first live match I've watched since Aston Villa when we had the cup.
Wow.
Game
okay.
there.
Yep.
But normally I'm watching crowds, watching my own staff, make sure that they're doing the right thing, and to see part of the match. Yeah, I have seen part of it in lockdown because I've been the steward on the home tunnel. That's keeping an eye on the referee, keeping an eye on you people in the press area.
Yeah, making sure that we're all behaving. Yes, I mean presumably you have an idea, and particularly when there's crowds there, as to what the score is and how Wycombe are getting on. But actually, you're not really able to watch and enjoy the game.
Not if you're doing your role properly. It's concentrating on what's going on around you to make sure that even members in your own team are performing to their requirements.
And what is it like being part of the club? Because, as I say, it always comes across as being such a friendly place, with Gareth Ainsworth, with the Couhig family, Pete Couhig, we always see him around. Is it as friendly as it actually appears to fans?
Well, we try and make it as friendly as possible because that is the best way to run things on a friendly basis. Obviously, there are times when we all have a difference of opinion and things like that, but at the end of the day, we shake hands and go home.
Fantastic. So if people are interested, there's more details on the website, which of course is wycombewanderers.co.uk, and I believe if people want to email you with their short CV, that would be the way that they can apply.
That is the best way forward. What I've been doing is pulling everyone into a file on the computer, and I've been answering them as soon as their email comes in. And the thing that people have got to remember, this is a job which will start August time once the new season kicks off. But it's giving me a window of opportunity to invite people in, chat with them, see where they want to go. Because, we've been through a difficult year, and football probably won't be the same. Well, you don't know yet, but there's a chance that we might be still socially distanced if the numbers start to go up again. We've got to go into it with an open mind. I'm hoping that everything will be back as normal as it can be, but I'm looking at different plans to fit different scenarios and all sorts, because you've got to be ready for anything that's going to hit you.
If you want more into details, you can check out the Wycombe Wanderers website, and you can get Richard's email address there. I definitely think we should have a feature where you're a steward for a day, behind the scenes stewarding with Bob.
I'll get back to you about that one.
I'll take that as a maybe.
Okay, that is. But really nice to hear from Richard, and it's always interesting, I think, to speak to anyone connected with the club and just find out their early experiences of supporting the club. So that was really nice.
And great to chat to you, Peter Suddaby, today as well. Join us next week on the show. Keith Ryan will be our guest. It'll be exactly 20 years since the FA Cup semi-final goal at Villa Park against Liverpool.
And let's hope that we're reflecting on wins against Blackburn and Rotherham.
Have a nice Easter.